And I think I still have a lot to contribute towards politics and government.
So what are your parting thoughts about Albany? This is your exit interview, let's say. I mean, what are your parting thoughts? What's really broken there? Is it really that the Speaker wields too much power, like many people say? He controls members by rank and file members with member items. Is that really a problem, or is it really something else?
I think the problem is more, it's institutional, where change really does take a long time to occur. But there are times when, the issues are right and you could make movement. You could take legislation recently regarding the prison census count, prison gerrymandering.
Right. Hasn't moved in the Senate, but yeah, right.
Actually, because you haven't voted on the budget bill,
on the revenue bill,
which is a place it really shouldn't be, but it's there, and I'm happy that it's there. It's a bill that I support. It's supported by Hakeem Jeffries and Eric Adams. I think it was an important bill, and it's something that you would have thought would never have made it. So I think it's important. It shows the growing, I think, importance of the Black and Hispanic and Asian caucus in the State Assembly. And the things that can occur, I mean, I'm a supporter of the SUNY Flex. I wish that we had found a way of putting it into the Assembly's budget and even agreeing to what some of the Buffalo representatives want, is a carve-out for SUNY Buffalo. I think that would have been a good thing to do for 3 or 4 years to see how it would work. But many members of my caucus and in the Assembly are adamantly opposed to anything that would restrict the Assembly's ability to oversee SUNY. In their view, would affect the ability of middle-income and poor students to go to SUNY. I think they're wrong in that impression. I think they're still fighting a 1970s fight over the loss of free tuition at City University. I think that the SUNY system is too unwieldy. 64 campuses is just too big for our state. And I think we really need to find some way of reining it in. I think SUNY Flex will allow us to do that.
And that what you're talking about when you say SUNY Flex is this SUNY empowerment program that would basically untether SUNY and allow certain campuses to make their own decisions in terms of raising their tuition, and then allow them to keep that tuition because the legislature has swept their tuition increases in the past.
Well, the governor swept it, but yes.
Albany has swept it in the past. But do you think that actually could move? Because right now that very issue is actually holding things up in the Senate, where you have Senator Bill Stikowski and also Senator Brian Foley from Long Island are saying, we're not going to pass this revenue bill until John Sampson goes back to the drawing board and negotiates with your speaker, Sheldon Silver, who makes it seem to me, from what he said, makes it seem to me that he's not interested in negotiating on that bill.
Because many members of my caucus are not interested. They really don't want to do this. They see it as opening a door to a privatization of SUNY, or making it inaccessible to the poor and to working class families. But in my view, it's already inaccessible. Just because tuition is less than $5,000 and may match TAP, you still have student fees, you have room and board for those who stay on a campus, and other fees that bring the cost of SUNY education to between $20,000 and $25,000. And for some families, that may still be an impossibility.
So what happens then? Might a pilot program? Do you think that the Speaker's open to a pilot program?
I think we should do a pilot program with the caveat that the legislature also invest a lot of money in SUNY over the next 5 to 10 years.
A lot of money where? Where's that money going to come from?
What we need to do is look at our priorities. We need to maybe cut back on Medicaid spending. I mean, I think we insure way too many children whose families actually have jobs. We also cover the children of persons who are here illegally. There are some things we could just cut out, some of the authorities, a number of things where we could save some money and invest that in the state's future, which is actually SUNY. And I think also begin to close down some of the far-flung campuses.
We should probably note for the viewers who are raising their eyebrows that you're a fairly conservative Democrat from downstate. That's sort of an unusual animal.
I would say more of a moderate Democrat who believes that we need to have a different kind of thinking sometimes and sort of remove ourselves from the old orthodoxies and find new ways of moving forward.
What's the one thing that you think needs to change about Albany? If one thing could change, what would it be?
I guess find a way of making it sort of more member-driven, but not to the point where it creates a gridlock, like in the Senate,
for example,
because everybody became their own veto,
right.
and that became a problem. But where you can move important legislation, where at least you can get a hearing on important bills that come up, and rather than having discussion in conference, I think there are times when the public ought to be involved in that discussion. The national popular vote I'd ask for hearings. You know, we had some, we were able to stop it. We got further discussion among the members. I'm not quite sure how many members of the public actually understand what that bill would do. And that's been passed by the Senate, I think. And I don't think it didn't make it this year through the Assembly. Right. A great number of members were opposed, particularly the county leaders who were members of the state Assembly.
Well, basically, it does away with the Electoral College. It does away with the Electoral College. So
in a sense, it would require that New York State's electors would then have to vote according to the national popular vote. So if, let's say, a Republican were the winner of the national vote, the New York electors, even though they're Democrats, they have to cast their votes entirely for that person. And the thought was it's a way of making the presidential election, the 50-state election, we have to come to urban centers, urban states like New York, and campaign there and spend the money there.
Instead of just using the state as an ATM, which is really what most national candidates do.
Right.
Well, you have always been a very interesting and outspoken member of the Assembly, and I'm going to miss you. I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight, and hopefully you'll be back one day and you'll join us again.
Be back, hopefully giving comment as well as time goes on.
Thanks very much, Assemblyman
Thank
Benjamin.
you.
I appreciate it.